Hi, I'm Dr. Machino, and I'm the author of the Machino Optimal Living Program, 7 Steps to a Healthy, Fit, Age-Resistant Body. This is what the book looks like in the printed form. In fact, we're into our second edition of the book that came out in 2009. And right now you're about to receive the first chapter, or really step 1. And step 1 in the book really is about building your nutrition foundation. That's the first step, because people are so confused today about high carbohydrate diets and low carbohydrate diets. And should I only eat fruit until noon? And if my blood type is this, should I eat certain foods? The reality is that in step 1, I need to set the record straight. So in step 1 of the book, you're going to get a very solid understanding of how nutrition influences how the body actually works. So the first thing that I get into is carbohydrates. Understanding there's really 4 categories of carbohydrates. There are excellent carbohydrates, there are good carbohydrates, there are intermediate carbohydrates, and there are some bad carbohydrates. The reality is that you can have some from each group. And so the thing that's really important in this chapter is to understand that some of the excellent and the good carbohydrates contain many protective nutrients that help to reduce your risk of cancer and heart disease, keep your immune system stronger. In fact, people that eat more of those types of carbohydrates have been shown to have a 50% lower incidence of cancer over their lifetime. So it's important that you understand those protective nutrients that you get from certain carbohydrate foods. The chapter also covers dietary fiber. Some carbohydrates contain different kinds of fiber. There's a type of fiber that helps to lower your cholesterol, reducing your risk of heart disease and stroke. Other types of fiber in carbohydrate foods can actually help to clean the colon, improving bowel function, and also, we think, reducing your risk of colorectal cancer, which is, by the way, the second leading cause of cancer death. So this is a very important chapter as you start to learn about carbohydrates and then fiber. And then the chapter moves into a story about dietary fat. Now, you know about fat. There's saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. And then there's also omega-3 fats, which, you've heard a lot of the benefits about omega-3 fats recently. But really in this chapter, the point that I want to drive home is how saturated fat actually ends up raising your cholesterol level and then ultimately clogging your arteries, leading to vascular disease. 1 in 2 men in our society die from heart disease or related vascular conditions. 1 in 3 women die this way. So understanding how saturated fat intake influences this process is a vital part of this chapter as well. And then we look at protein. Protein is your body's structure. Protein is your muscles and bones and connective tissue. Your antibodies that fight infections are made out of protein. The intercellular structures that hold the cell together are all protein structures. So you need to make sure you're getting the right amount of protein each day and from the best possible sources. And in the chapter, I cover that as well. And then finally, of course, a chapter on building your nutrition foundation wouldn't be complete unless I explained the value of water and what happens when you drink alcohol, and what about aspartame and artificial sweeteners, and sodium, and what about when you have coffee or tea or caffeinated beverages? What does that do to the body? It's important that you get a working knowledge of how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together so you have a solid foundation. So by the end of chapter 1, you're going to have a lot of good educational knowledge of how carbohydrates, fat, protein, water, alcohol, caffeine, sodium, all these different things influence the body's overall metabolism and can push pathways towards increasing your risk of disease, or push the body's pathway towards not only reducing risk of disease but also slowing down the aging process itself. So you now have an electronic copy of Step 1 of the Machino Optimal Living Program. Please make sure you go through it, read it carefully. It becomes the foundation of knowledge that I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life in terms of how you're going to start feeding your body to nourish it properly. So good luck, and I hope you enjoy it.